Yeah, guys, we're doing trailer talk right
Trailer
now.
talk.
Hyatt got in for the emergency episode of the podcast that we need to do right
But
now.
we had to talk Civil War. The
We're
most
doing a
talked about movie
civil.
of 2024.
We're doing a Civil War episode because I saw it a couple days ago. Got out. I texted Hyatt my thoughts I texted Hyatt and Jack my thoughts. But Hyatt went to see it. Jack can't make it. We're recording this.
Yeah, we were going to
But
record a different episode, but Jack couldn't make it tonight, so now we're just talking about Civil War, I guess.
we'll start with trailer talk. No,
Trailer
I
talk.
did
Da, da,
not
da,
get.
da. Hi, welcome. You're listening to The Sweet Life of Jack and Kobe. I'm your host, Hyatt. Here's Kobe. Kobe's currently cosplaying as an Ohioan.
Well, I'm wearing my Ohio
Yeah, I
University.
know you've got the
whole.
Okay, so
No,
did you
it's
get...
not. It's not a Sweet Life of Jack and Kobe today. Today it's called a Hyatt Place.
a Hyatt Place day one, you know?
A
'Cause this is kind of day
a
one.
Hyatt Place.
Isn't it crazy
The-
that it's kind of the summer of Krasinski? We get the Krasinski series, and we get a new, fully original idea from John Krasinski.
If
An idea that he completely came up with and has never been thought of before.
what's the original series?
It seems as if it perhaps has a striking familiarity to the old Cartoon Network show Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Oh
I
wait,
think
wait.
is,
There's a series. They're doing a series based off If too.
No. I'm just saying they keep being like from the imagination of John Krasinski, and it's like, well, he didn't really.
Right.
He kind
didn't
of
come up with that.
He didn't really come up with it, you know.
I think about Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends genuinely every single day of my life, and it's because whenever I hold a door open for somebody, when I'm walking into the Loblaws, for instance, I always think of this episode of Foster's Home where Wilt holds the door open for people at the mall, and they keep walking through.
Yeah.
And he almost dies of thirst, right? And then somebody, I think Blue probably spills
Because
some lemonade or something.
Foster's would kind of do like Family Guy-esque extended gags where it would go
Right.
on for a really long time like that, I feel like.
Right.
Where either Cheese is perhaps annoying someone for a long time, or the rabbit would hold open the door and it's like kind of like a frame where a bunch of, you know.
Right. What's funny about it too is I liked Foster's Home whenever I saw it, but the thing was, I only saw it when I was over at friends' houses because we didn't have Cartoon Network, and I would go over and they would have on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and I keep trying to say Foster's Home for Imaginary People, like Foster the People.
This is a PC title, you know.
And
They're not all friends, you know.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Individuals. The other one that I've really liked and never saw was The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Good show. No, that show's
Yeah.
I enjoyed. And another one that kind of had a Family Guy sensibility, you know. It kind of had like gags that would go on for a really long time, or cutaways that were kind of stupid, or you know.
Right. Right.
But that you know, the one thing that people really never even put their finger on, and perhaps I'm wrong, is the Grim Reaper in that has a Jamaican accent for really no reason, you know, and it's kind of
Right.
not really touched on, and it doesn't really quite make sense, but it's such a wild choice, and it works really well
Right.
for the show that he has this Jamaican accent. I'm willing to bet that's a white man voicing the Grim Reaper.
1,000%. In fact, I read. I mean, this could be hearsay or whatever but I read something on Twitter the other day. By the other day, a couple of weeks, if not months ago, that the reason why they never did an episode where the Grim Reaper turned into an actual person was because of the whole Jamaican thing, and I'm pretty sure that it was because the voice actor was white and
Yeah.
just
there's,
didn't
like,
want
what
to
we
straight
do.
up didn't want to expose the fact that he was
Yes.
doing just such a
Well,
big
because you
accent.
have like a strange pseudo-plausible deniability that it's like, no, this just happens to be, or I guess like there's like a voodoo angle, but that's not really like
Yeah.
how they present the Grim Reaper. It's a pretty like straightforward presentation for the Grim Reaper. He just has a Jamaican accent also. Okay, let's get into some trailer
They should have
talk.
done Meet Joe Black, but instead of Brad Pitt, it's like Giancarlo Esposito doing a Jamaican accent.
Meet Joe Black, shot by Emmanuel Lubezki.
I don't know. Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
kind of his
I bet that's
early
the most
career,
boring.
but
I bet that's the most boring movie that's ever been made.
yeah. Well, so they're doing Martin Brest on Blank Check seemingly coming up.
Right.
So we're
Yeah.
gonna. I mean, I don't
I
watch
know.
all the movies along. In fact, that's probably the number one movie that I will not watch and I will listen to a Blank Check episode on. It's
Right,
like Meet the
right.
Black. I'm like, I can't wait to not watch this movie and listen to them talk about it.
I'm definitely not watching. What's so funny is I've been watching Rollerball for
I watched
3
half of
nights now.
Rollerball and I tapped out. And then I was like,
Yeah,
I'll get back to this, and then my rental expired, so I was just like, fuck it.
yeah. It's on Prime in Canada, so I've just been watching it for 3 nights now, and I'm gonna be able to wrap it because I watch it like as I'm about to fall asleep because it's not very good.
It's not good at all.
But yeah, I'm definitely not watching Basic.
Yeah, Basic has its fans, but I don't know. McTiernan's kind of interesting because he's a hard guy for me to get excited about, and I mean, I still haven't I've never seen Die Hard, so I can't really talk too much about that. But
Interesting.
that's like the number one movie in my life where I'm like, yes, I will watch this. I know I will like it, but there's just like. It's not like exciting for me to watch Die Hard. I don't know. Maybe I'm a crazy person in that regard, but I'm like, there's no like process of discovery with this movie for me. I'm
Right.
just going to like all the parts that I know I will like about it, and then it'll be over. I don't know. Maybe I'll be like, wow, this is an incredible piece of work.
Well, what's so interesting about McTiernan and it's maybe it's bad to talk about other people's podcasts, but I think the only person who's going to listen to this anyways is
Yeah,
Jack.
no. Again, this is the same thing I'm talking about.
Yeah. But what's funny about them doing McTiernan is that it almost feels too late, right? Like I feel like you do this 6 years ago, and you get to be on the forefront of the Last Action Hero is actually kind of good train. But by this point, Last Action Hero has been, I think, safely reclaimed, and like I've never once in my life seen anybody stand up to defend the 13th Warrior, Basic, Rollerball, or Medicine Man.
Nomads.
Or Nomads. Like, what's fun about watching along? Not that I do with 100% of the films, so I probably watch along to about 70% of them. What's fun about that is like I would have never watched this. Like I would never in my life watch Scent of a Woman. That's just the way that it's gonna go. It's a 2.5 hour long like Oscar drama. There's never gonna be a point in my life where I go, I need to see this beyond an Al Pacino compilation. What's fun about the podcast is that it'll be like, you know what, fine, fuck it. I will watch Scent of a Woman. I will watch Yentl.
Yeah, it's like,
You
I
know,
have
or Prince
more
of Tides is
reason
probably a better
than
example.
I ever will have at any point in time to watch this right now.
Right. Because I'm always like, well, somebody liked that. But then you get down to like Rollerball, and it's got a fun soundtrack, right? I like new metal.
Yeah, I almost don't want to
McTiernan's-
even start talking about Rollerball because I'm going to start unpacking all the things that don't work for me about Rollerball,
Right.
and it's actually kind of
Right.
a long discussion because it's all based
so
on
much.
sports movies and the entire philosophy of how they should be presented and such.
Right. Well, the sport itself stinks. That
There's
is like
no
the biggest
internal
problem
logic.
with
There's no
Rollerball.
rules. But again,
Yeah.
I don't want to start talking about it. Like
Yeah,
literally,
yeah,
because I'll
that's-
just start complaining
okay, yeah,
about
you're right.
Rollerball. Because it's like now we're getting
You're
into the nitty gritty, and it's like, yeah, this doesn't work because, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, just watch
Yeah.
10 minutes of Rollerball, and you'll be like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this sucks.
The sport
It's like, you
stinks.
shouldn't
That's
be
why
able to
the
make a
movie's
bad movie about Rollerball, a
Yeah.
crazy made up sport that's. I mean, the original Rollerball is not even that great. It's kind
I
of
haven't seen it.
crazy. The original Rollerball is all about how James Caan is the GOAT at Rollerball and everyone's trying to set him up to fail, and he's so good at Rollerball that even with all the odds stacked against him, he succeeds. It's like the Tom
Right.
Brady story.
I was gonna say that's Justin Fields moving to the Steelers.
But no, it's actually like it's actually like a John Cena type thing, whether it's like the odds, how will he overcome it, and then he just does. But like
Right.
there is like a weird undercurrent of like the reason why they want to undercut him is because if people like believe in the power of the individual too much, they will like rise up against this. Like it's like
Interesting.
I don't know if it's like I'm probably adding a little bit of Randianness to it, but it is kind of just about like he's like because that is their stated reason, if I recall correctly, is that like he is like too much of a beacon of hope if he's like greater than the sport of rollerball.
That's really strange because whenever I read anything about Rollerball, it's always like critics really latched on to the fact that it lost a lot of the social commentary from the original film, And so I always sort of, because it's a Jewison film too, I always sort of assumed that there was something going on that was a little bit more interesting than just that, right? Which you can
No,
just sort of apply it
there's
into
not.
the context. Yeah.
Part of it is, again, it's like it's not really like the rollerball scenes are kind of cool. The sport, you can kind of
Is the
fill
sport
in
more
the blanks.
legible?
Yes, you can kind of
Jewison
fill in the
one?
blanks
Yeah.
of what it is, but it's also less exciting because it's just kind of roller derby with a ball and some guys on motorcycles, you know.
Right.
Um,
Right.
But it's like cool. A movie that I think is a better version of Norman Jewison Rollerball is what's that movie called? The George Hero movie, Night Riders, I think it's called. That's about
Right.
like the Renaissance fair motorcycle jousters that like live by
Right.
a code and are like a traveling
Yeah.
group. That movie's kind of awesome.
Yeah, the
and
movie-
it's like
I've
about
heard of
these
that.
people who live like a weird way of life based around like not necessarily a sport, but like a thing that they've invented, you know. And they're like, we
Right.
live like an alternative to life. Like they partially treats it like they're like in between Ren Fair and like Amish, you know, because they like live
Right.
like this. That movie's also like
I-
2.5 hours long for no reason.
Fuck. No, I'll watch it. It sounds fun. I was thinking about this today. Maybe it's better to table this for the forthcoming episode. Are there any late style horror directors? Are there any horror directors like
Tobe
American,
Hooper.
like Western? Right. Yeah. Okay. I guess that's the big one.
Is the one that I would
That was-
think of. Like,
I was walking
I
along.
always see a ton of stuff about that movie Mortuary. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that one.
I do know that one. I saw one of his films, The Toolbox Murders. That's like another one of his late ones, and I did not like it very much. But that's one of those ones where you go in a letterbox and you look at the ratings and the reviews, and it's like a couple of like 2.5s from people like me, but then like the occasional 4.5, the occasional
He
5. Like
he has a
this is
huge cult, like a strange
Right.
cult that doesn't really have any like penetration into any mainstream film discussion circles, but like Tobe Hooper has like is like beloved amongst like a very small sect of like stoner horror weirdos, you know.
right.
At least that's kind of the vibe I get. I feel like that's
No,
kind
that's
of the
true. I
question
was-
of doing like late styles. Like, I mean, we could watch like The Ward, the John Carpenter movie, but I don't know if that's any fun. Like,
But I also don't think that counts as late styles. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know. I mean, these are the
Yeah.
questions we have to ask.
I guess-
This
I
is
guess,
why,
yeah,
like,
this is the
this is
point
kind
of
of why I'm so excited for that conversation because I literally just have a list of movies. It's like, is this,
Right,
you know,
right.
Because
I
it
think
kind
the
of
most-
makes you question it.
I started reading this Edward Said book today called On Late Style. That's just about it's just him going through and tabulating different or tabulating different writers and different artists. It's not just filmmakers; it's like novelists and poets and composers and performers, and just sort of identifying, like trying to define a stable definition of what late style actually is. But my roommate walked out halfway through, asked me what I was reading, and I told him, and then I started explaining why. And the next thing I knew, I was halfway through, like, you know, it was a solid 15, 20-minute conversation of just me just sort of trying to chase points down. I feel like the one that I'm most excited to talk about, and I'm curious if it's on your list, is All That Jazz late style, is Star 80 late style.
No, those aren't on my list, but those are interesting questions.
Right.
Let me see.
Anyways, this is
I'm gonna tease one more because I feel like I want to find one really salacious one on my list. Also, my microphone is down to one battery thing, but I'm just gonna keep an eye on it because I'm kind of low on batteries, so I may have to just rotate through a couple times.
right.
Let me see this real quick, and then we will do trailer talk, and then we'll talk about Civil War,
Civil
the movie
War.
that we're ostensibly talking about.
Which I still don't know what you think about it, by the way.
No, I guess I don't have any that I want to like tease now. Unfortunately, as much
Right.
as I built that up for a second.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But I feel like some of these. I mean, hey, I'm very excited to see what people bring to the table.
Right.
All right, there might be a point where we get cut off. So let's get some trailer talk in. So you did not get the I Saw the TV Glow trailer.
I did not up here and not up at the Cineplex.
They don't
Not at-
want you to. What did
not at
you
the
get? Do
Toronto.
you remember what you got? Or like, there's basically there was 3 that I wanted to talk about.
I got Sing Sing.
I didn't get Sing Sing.
Okay, I got Sing Sing.
Is that the Sing sequel? Sing 2 sequel?
Yeah.
It's like Seth
Yeah.
MacFarlane and
Yeah, it's Sing Squared.
yeah, it's like
Yeah, so
it's a
so so
weird
so from now on,
side.
yeah, so from now on, whenever we talk about Sing, we have to call it Sing Prime.
Yeah. Well, and there's Sing 2. There is a Sing 2. So this is kind
yeah,
of like a side universe Sing.
right, right. They're getting really in the multiverse thing.
What? How
Oh,
is
that
the Sing
is.
Sing trailer?
Hey, it looks heartwarming.
Yeah.
Do you know what that one is?
It's Coleman Domingo in a prison teaching them musical theater.
Yeah, yeah. And it ends. It's like it just like it's a lot of prisoners, people in jail. Oh, it's got like the 4-3.
Oh, it's like Academy ratio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of like close up handheld. Um, and it's got prisoners being like, man, Othello is dope, right?
They say that?
They say something about Hamlet being dope, or like Hamlet
Yeah,
killed
yeah.
that shit, or something like that. So you know what? It looks
You
heartwarming.
made it. You're not selling it well.
I'm just look. It looks.
You're repeating. You're stating the facts.
I'm telling it how it is. No, it looks heartwarming. Doesn't look like it's gonna rock anybody's world, but trailer like that, they're probably just trying to get people in seats, get all excited about being inspired and the like.
Yeah.
So the Sing Sing trailer, I got that. I think I forget every other trailer that I got.
Did you get the
I got
Furiosa
Alien
trailer?
Romulus. Of course, I got the Furiosa.
Did you get the Furiosa trailer with the Man Who Sold the World? The da na 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 na. Or did you get the first Furiosa trailer?
What's the first Furiosa trailer?
The first Furiosa trailer is the one where the text is like moving, and it's like this is
Right.
the
No,
journey
no,
of Furiosa.
yeah,
Or did
no,
you get the one that
I-
starts with her grabbing the apple?
Yeah, I got the Man Who Sold the World trailer.
You got the second one? Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
man, this movie's gonna be so good. It's
It's
crazy
gonna
that
be
people act
amazing.
like it's not going to be good.
Right.
It's so
I think,
funny to me.
I mean, it's got to be just because of some like some composition. Sometimes the composition looks a little stylized, right? And so
Yeah, I
everybody's
don't-
like losing their minds about like, well, it doesn't look real. It's like go and watch Fury Road again. Pay attention
There's
to the
CGI
composition
in
work that
Fury
film.
Road, my guys.
Yeah, I know a lot of it, and a lot of the times it's just as stylized.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Um,
I think Fury Road, like, I think the number is like 80% of the footage is sped up or slowed down. Like, I
Right,
mean, that is
right.
not like a effects free, grounded visually movie. You
Right,
know?
right,
It's an insane looking film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just like that's like the peak of just not understanding what people complain about when they complain about CGI, or people just latching on to 3 letters that they've heard of before.
Right.
Like everything about it looks like it's going to be so good. I mean, I think Hemsworth and Taylor-Joy both look like. I mean, Miller's using Taylor-Joy's eyes as like a prop in such an insane way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like Hemsworth looks like he's having fun in a movie that's not going to be completely bullshit. Like what is
Yeah.
that Netflix movie,
Extraction.
Spiderhead?
Oh, Spiderhead.
The movie that Joe Kowalski or whatever his name is, the Top Gun Maverick guy,
Yeah.
had to. What's that dude's name?
It's something
Like basically like pretended that it didn't happen because it came out the same year as the biggest movie ever.
Miles Teller's in that one too, is he not?
Kaczynski. Joe Kowalski is like someone from Lorraine or something.
Oh no! It's you're thinking of John Krasinski, the director of.
Of If,
Yeah.
well, if and
Yeah.
the creative force behind The Quiet Place Day One.
Did I get an If trailer? No, I don't think I did.
You didn't get an
I
If
think I was
trailer,
watching.
man.
I think I was watching basketball or something.
No
I got an If
way you
trailer.
didn't get an If trailer. They would never put an If trailer before this.
No.
My man Tom Burke from The Souvenir plays young Immortan Joe.
Right. Interesting.
That's
I
going
haven't
to
seen
be,
this
I'm
movie.
very excited about that.
Yeah.
They don't let him do much, these days. They're trying to suppress him. They don't want Burke unleashed like he was in The Souvenir.
Is he one of Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriends? Probably, based off how society moves now.
He's actually Orson Welles in Mank.
Is he actually?
He is,
Oh, that.
which is I feel
I
like
w-
how more people would know him.
Mank is not very good, but he's fun.
I feel like he's good in Mank. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got the Twisters trailer.
I did not get that trailer.
Have you seen it?
I've seen the trailer.
Oh man, I'm so amped on Twisters.
You're all in. All in on
I'm
Twisters?
all in on Twisters.
Nice.
And I haven't seen Minari.
I think I'm 3/4 of the way in on Twisters.
Thing is,
I'll go see it, but I'm not like I like the one like Furiosa is my big all in summer movie, right?
I'm all in on both, but I'm on the Glenn Powell train, you know.
Of course, of course. You can see the Hitman.
Woo woo, woo.
You gonna see Hitman?
I'm not. I didn't mean. I'm going to see it, man.
You're going to see Hitman.
I missed it at
because
NIF.
of- You missed it at NIF when you saw it, or when everybody else got,
It
got the
was
chance
when
to
everyone
see
else
it.
got to see it at NIF.
It's
Now
funny.
it's
I
for
missed
to
it.
be on
I
Netflix
missed it
like
at
an idiot.
TIFF. I
And it
missed
was the
it at
talk of the
TIFF.
town. Honestly, by the time it got to NIF, people were already like, I was seeing like hate. I see people be like, "Yeah, this feels like a Netflix comedy," you know. Which that's not the movie you apply that to. That's Monkey Man. Monkey Man's a Netflix movie.
Yeah, Monkey Man stinks. I've been curious where the recent round of Hitman hype has come from, because the reason why I didn't go out of my way to see it at TIFF was because the early buzz was all middling. It was like, yeah, it's okay.
No, see,
I
there was
I-
a huge wave when it like first landed for Western audiences, I guess, of people who like loved it.
Right.
And so that I was like, oh, and then there was like a third wave of people who didn't like it that much.
Okay.
But like I remember out of Venice, people were really high on it.
Right.
And then
Makes
right
sense.
before it premiered at TIFF and NIF, it was announced that Netflix had bought it, which kind of just put a whole damper on things. And I
Yeah.
feel like it kind of affected how it got re-received when it landed here.
Am I mistaken, or was that's like they bought it for like $20 million or something?
Just to do nothing with it.
Yeah, like they bought it for a lot of money, if I remember, and like sort of maybe even a record-breaking amount of money, but I could be making this up.
No, part of it is we all watch Glenn Powell try his hardest in Anyone But You. You know, we loved watching him desperately flail
didn't see it.
attempting to make that movie work.
I didn't see
He's
it.
trying his hardest, you know.
Yeah.
That movie's like not a movie. It's like an extended TikTok sketch, you know. Like I mean,
Right.
half the people in it are like seemingly not even actors, including Sydney Sweeney.
Right. Heyo.
Ayo, no, well, I guess just in that she's good in reality. I haven't really seen her in anything else. She kind of gets
Right.
like people act like she has a bigger part in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood now. I feel like because she's famous, but I'm like I don't even remember her in that movie.
Who is she in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I think she's just one of the Manson people.
Come on.
I know. But
That is
people
a
like
cow.
act like she's like in it. I'm like, yeah. Margaret Qualley's in
Lena-
it.
Yeah. Lena Dunham's in it.
Well, hey, Lena Dunham's in it, bro. Are you still watching Girls?
I'm all done with Girls.
You watched all of Girls already?
Yeah, my girlfriend and I. Oh, it took us like a year.
Okay, yeah. No, I
was watching
just
Girls
stalled
for a
out on like season 3, and then, you know.
Right. It basically the thing about Girls is that it really like flanderizes itself really hard.
Yeah. No, I kind of was like, I feel like I've seen the appropriate amount of Girls to where I've like enjoyed
Right.
it. It's like how I've watched
Season
season
one.
1 of the Larry Sanders Show like 3 times, and then I like get halfway
Right.
through season 2 and I never finish it. I'm like, I've just spent enough time in this world.
Right. I mean, season 1 is like one of the best seasons of Girls. Is just one of the best seasons of television I've ever
Very
seen.
good.
I think like so funny. Just like I mean, this is a word that gets overused, but it does feel very honest. And then I think she gets too much of an idea of what these characters are and what their ticks are. It's almost like she type of guy herself.
Yeah.
Type of guys herself.
It's like
right? Where
preemptive.
it's
It's
right.
like a defense
Like,
mechanism almost.
like okay, Hannah's the type of girl who XYZ, but Adam the type of guy who does this and that. Yeah.
I feel like, and I guess this is a stupid complaint for the show Girls, but I do feel like occasionally she's just like, all right, now all of a sudden Adam's acting like this for no reason. Because it's
Right,
like
right.
he has like a very clear, trackable character, and then there's just like, oh, this needs to happen in the plot, so now he's just gotta like decide he wants to live his life a completely different way. What I'm saying isn't
Yeah.
unrealistic, but like I feel like he does have like a very specific, like everyone else kind of sticks to their interior code, even if it gets much sillier, whereas his
Right.
thing kind of just trails off.
Right.
But
And I tell you,
I love
it is.
Shoshana,
I mean,
so
I love Shoshana too. Shoshana's my favorite girl.
I'm like
the best
Shoshana. I'm Shoshana and Hannah. If I had to pick what girl I was,
Okay. I'm probably. I'm. You know what? I think I'm the exact same.
hey, that's us. Just two girls.
Just two Shoshana Hannahs hanging out.
No, I saw the TV Glow. Looks like it's going to be good. I think it is
People
kind
seem
of.
to really like it.
The visuals look good. It is funny that the soundtrack is what it is. I
What's the
went.
soundtrack?
It's like Phoebe Bridgers and Alex G, and it's just like everybody. Like it's just like a very
Right. Right.
on brand thing. And I was like,
Right.
I went to go see this with Diane, who's like 69, I believe. And I basically leaned over at the end. I'm like, yeah, this is like a filmmaker who's has a finger on the pulse of a specific thing,
Right.
like
Right.
almost too much so.
Right.
But also a very cover of Anthems of a 17-year-old girl in the trailer. So,
Right. By whom?
the original is the Broken Social Scene track.
No, but who's the cover?
I don't know. I just know it's in the trailer. It's fine,
Word.
I mean, I was like, the Broken Social Scene. You're in Canada. You're probably in it.
Yeah.
You're a
I am
member.
in it. Everybody's in that band, man.
Well, you're either if you're a Canadian, you're either in Broken Social Scene or Godspeed You, Black Emperor.
Right, or you're in a tragically hip cover band.
Yeah, yeah.
Every once in a while, because I had never listened to a tragically hip. Like I knew who they were as like
I've
the,
never
the
listened to it.
Canadian.
Yeah, I just kind of
Yeah.
nodded along to that joke,
I knew who they were as like the Canadian rock band, and I got up here, and whenever people try to play me tragically hip songs, man, they fucking stink. That band stinks. You know
Yeah,
who's a great
hey.
Canadian rock band? You know what a great
Uh-oh,
Canadian rock
uh-oh.
band is? Bare Naked Ladies, BNL.
BNL,
Yeah.
classic. Dan Harmon. That's gonna be awesomely punctuated by me elbowing my microphone right as I go for it. So there's gonna be a huge.
Right.
I'm gonna have to cut that out.
All right, I saw the
Uh,
TV club.
But
I am. Well, do you want to keep doing trailer talk? Are there any more trailers to talk?
that was kind of. I mean, I think I saw the TV Glow. It's kind of funny that it's based on a creepypasta.
Right. Do you know what the creepypasta is?
It's called Candlelight Cove. I think.
Oh,
is.
they're doing Candle Cove, didn't they?
Yeah, that's.
I
that's
thought Channel Zero.
I mean, it's not like literally, but like it's
Right.
not. But it's like about like remember this TV show that we all forgot when we were kids.
Yeah. And my and
But
then
that-
the final
it's like if
the last
Candle
line of
Cove-
that is my mom said that I was just watching Static.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of. I think that's kind of what this is, but it's like if that was
Yeah.
about gender identity,
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. Did you like We're All Going to the World's Fair?
Didn't see.
Oh, you didn't see. You didn't see.
I think I'm gonna reverse it. I think I'm gonna see this one and then see the first work. I think I
Yeah,
kind of decided I'm gonna do that since this one's kind of like the step up.
It looks a little more fully formed. World's Fair is pretty good. It's very sad, which I kind of wasn't expecting. I was kind of expecting something a little bit more horror-y based off the trailer, but I was kind of taken with how sad it was. And the main person is really good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely for some reason that was one where I'm just like, well, now that I know this new one's coming down the line, I'll just watch that
Yeah.
and then kind of see the development the other way.
Right. Do you want to get?
Yeah,
into
I might go
into the
pee
meat of
real
this?
quick and switch these batteries,
Okay.
and then this will be a good part to cut real quick, and then
Sounds good.
we'll get into we'll have our Civil War.
Sounds good. I'll go pee.
And we're back. We both turned the lights on.
I mean, it was getting a little bit dark.
Getting a little.
It's getting a little dark.
Don't you want to see our All right, so ostensibly, we talked for like 30 minutes about nothing.
Well, we're just riffing.
Isn't that the goal of every podcast, to just
Right.
be sustainably not have to actually talk about their subject matter?
Right.
But we should get to the main event and talk Civil War. This is the fourth directorial effort from Alex Garland, fifth if you count Dread, which apparently he basically directed.
I think a lot of people do.
And then, obviously, he wrote a bunch of movies for... let me pull up his writing credits, because did he only write for Danny Boyle before this? That's something I should probably know before we come in. It looks like he wrote one movie for Mark Romanek.
What movie is that?
He wrote Never Let Me Go. He has a writing credit for. I'm just looking at this. Looks like he's the only writer.
Terrible
But
novel.
everything else he did. Terrible novel, you said?
Yeah, the book stinks.
Well, Alex Garland saw something in it, seemingly.
Right. Well, he's a hack.
There you go. But Kobe, you saw Civil War before I did. Do you want to start with your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's kind of good. I don't think it's great. I think it's maybe 6.5, 7 out of 10. Probably 6.5 out of 10. I think it's got a lot of flaws. Its episodic structure really irritated me. I think a lot of the time didn't look or wasn't directed amazingly well. Specifically, I'm thinking about the last 10 minutes are the sort of close quarters combat situation, which kind of very quickly turned into a lot of people running around rooms. I thought it was a little bit difficult to understand what was going on. There's a scene where a character dies, and as they're dying, they drive through a burning forest and they play like stomp, clap, Lumineers music. I thought that sucked. A lot of scenes with Wagner Moura, who I don't think is bad, but like, to sort of indicate how much he's lost it, he'll just be like, they'll cut the sound out and he's just screaming, right? Holding a cigarette and screaming. I think his character in general is a little bit lazily written.
So what do you like about it?
I just like that there is a schlocky, messy, mid-budget action thriller in theaters right now that I can go to and go see. I think that even though the point is a little bit obvious, I think the sniper scene is a lot of fun. I think that Jesse Plemons shows up for 7 minutes and just like, I mean, I know he's like the guy right now, but just steals the movie.
I'm in on Plemons for this, and I'm a Plemons hater. I'm in on Plemons for this. I think he's quite good in his scene.
Yeah, I think he's so good in the scene. I was not surprised. So basically, they shot this kind of a while ago. I think like in 2021-ish. And Kirsten Dunst and Sofia Coppola are friends. And Kirsten recommended Kaylee Spaney for Priscilla based off of working with her in Civil War. And I thought she was great in Priscilla too. But this is one of those things where I was like, if Priscilla hadn't come out, I would have walked out thinking to myself, like, who the hell is that kid?
Yeah, because it's interesting.
And why isn't she like in everything?
I guess I knew that story, but it's funny because the timeline didn't click. And I was like, she looks a lot younger in this, but I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
she literally is.
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, I was reading some interview with Alex Garland. He said that they were filming on the January 6th, the January 6th insurrection, right, when democracy was attacked. Okay, buddy. They've been making this for a while, which makes me wonder why it's taken this long. Like, I wonder if he really had trouble finding it in the edit. I wonder how many reshoots were involved, X, Y, Z. But I mean, at bottom, why do I like this? I think it's because even though I think its structure is irritating, like I don't like the episodic format, I like the actual meat of the episodes, and I just had a good time at the movies, right? It's sort of it has this nice little cheat code at the end where there's just a climax in Washington D.C. and they get to like blow up the Lincoln Memorial, right? Like they get to fly around the Washington Monument in a helicopter, they get to shoot at the White House. Like it's just sort of it's fun. I had a good time. I don't know if I don't know if I liked it the way that Garland wanted me to like it. Right? Maybe he wanted me to be a little bit more horrified or disturbed than I was. But even to that level, like there were some like there's a scene, slow motion scene of a guy getting burned alive early in the film, which like I was like this is a really solid image, and not the sort of image that I think you too often find in contemporary action thriller filmmaking. I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was kind
So
of good. Hi, what do you think? Oh, my big point is this feels like the first time in a
just
while
finish this, by the
where
way. This was alcohol.
what is it? Coffee?
Alcohol. Just
Feels
while I
like
was
the
listening to you say that.
First time in a while where I don't think Garland thinks that he's smarter than the material. And usually that's like my big problem with him, right? Is that Annihilation has a lot of cool visuals, but I think at the same time I just sort of I fall
Yeah.
down to this
All
this
right.
point where I'm like, okay, but what are you saying?
Can I
What is
hop in?
this? Yeah.
I'm just gonna. There's like a lot to attack here. Not, and I'm
Wait,
not
wait,
saying
okay.
that in like a I don't like it way.
Right.
But I feel like we need to start with like almost like a disclaimer. This movie is basically actively against you trying to look too much into the ideology of it.
Right.
I mean, it's almost presenting. Part of it is this has the attitude of like an 80s exploitation movie where it's kind of like, what is the silliest possible civil war that could happen in some ways, where it's actively, to both the movie's gain and detriment, is basically actively ignoring what would seemingly be the tapestry of a real civil war in the United States. And I'm not saying this as criticism or anything. I feel like we also almost need to get this out of the way so then we don't need to talk about it more.
Right.
I think the movie's actively going out its way to be like, this is not about a current type of conflict that would happen. You know, there's so I, in your Letterboxd review, you mentioned that you're like, it's pretty easy to figure out what happened. I'm very curious. What do you think happened? Because I also have an image of what I think would have happened that makes the world of this movie make the most sense, even if it doesn't actually make any sense at all.
Right. I feel as if the most logical thing is that this is a slightly distant future. Not like distant, like this is like 2030, maybe, early 2030s. Mainly because there's a line where, and it's a silly thing to say, but again, I kind of like it. Like I kind of like that there's a certain silliness to this movie because it does remind me of like the beginning of Escape from New York, right? Where the people who kidnap Donald Pleasance, which is also already a silly thing that Donald Pleasance is the president. The people who kidnap him are like, we are doing this because of Maoism, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like a blatant disregard for seriousness.
Right. But there's this line, like Kaylee Spaney is talking to Kirsten Dunst, who we can presume Kirsten Dunst is in her mid-30s, like late 30s, like probably
Maybe
about
early
the age that
40s.
probably about the age that Kirsten Dunst is right now. And Kaylee Spaney mentions that she got famous because she took the image of the, quote, Antifa massacre. And Antifa, I mean...
Which is a
I feel- when did
purposefully
that-
open statement.
Right.
It's literally purposefully open for you to be like, was Antifa massacring or getting massacred?
Right. Antifa wasn't... I mean, when did that enter the popular like lexicon? 2015?
Yeah, 2016 maybe.
2016? Like... And so if there's a picture of the Antifa massacre taken, we know that it's at least 2016. We also know that Kirsten Dunst was in college when she took this picture, right? So at the youngest she could have been when she took this picture was 18 or 19, which means that, I mean, I feel like it needs to be at least 15 years for her to be in her mid-30s / late 30s / early 40s. So I think this takes place in firstly, kind of a distant future, right? Early 2030s, but maybe a decade or so from now.
Maybe even
I think
2040s.
moreover... Right. I also think that like kind of what's crucial here is that when people talk about California and Texas ganging together, right, and sort of making fun of that, one, I honestly, I've always thought that kind of makes sense. I don't know why that became the Reddit thing to do.
It
Like the
doesn't
two
make sense
biggest
to me, but
economies.
I'll talk to it about that later.
Right. I
I
just feel like
think
they're the two biggest economies in the United States. But moreover, I am very curious about if it has something to do with water. That was like my
yes.
big thing coming out. If that like if this is like the mid 2030s, or even if you posited the early 2040s, like would this not have something to do with access to water? Are Texas and California not the states that have one, the biggest economy, two, like some of the largest populations, and three, the ones with like the most dire need for water, but also at the same time the
Yeah.
ones with the most
So
access to it.
broadly, yes, I would say I I I kind of see it as being a largely a states' right versus federal government thing, where basically Offerman at one point basically dissolves the federal government and is like,
Right.
if you want to be on our side, you're on our side. If you're not, we're gonna deal with you. And there's like pockets that are kind of there's like a very quick offhanded reference to the Portland Maoists, which is very funny
Right,
to me.
right.
Um, there's a lot of things
It's a
that
new
don't
basketball team.
make sense. Yeah, it is a good basketball team. There's a lot of things that don't make sense to me about the world of this movie. Um, like, I mean, I'm guessing so. Like Jesse Plemons is just like an independent guy, right? That's not what this is about.
How I read the Plemons thing was that exactly what you're saying.
Like him and his
dissolves the federal
boys are just
government.
like, we have enough guns
Right.
to take this over.
Exactly. There's certainly pockets like vacuums of power where anybody with guns and like enough moxie could assert their will. Because there's also that guy in the Eagles jersey earlier, right? Who
Yeah.
at the gas station.
So I think this movie is basically trying to do two things. It's
Right.
it's basically saying like there's not been a war movie that realistically depicts modern war that takes place in America where the guys shooting each other look like your barista, where it's
Right.
very like normalized in the imagery of what we see in the everyday. And then there's this
Right.
whole like it's the Hurt Locker but for war photographers angle.
Right.
Part of what I think sours people is Garland has said very stupid things about both those topics, which
Right.
well, like I don't even really care to talk about too much, but like he's basically like I didn't view this movie as being critical of war photography at all, and it's like, well then what's the movie, man? Like
Yeah.
why is it centered? I also think this movie is in some ways. I've seen someone on. I saw someone online clarify it as this, where it's like, it's kind of like clickbait, where it's. And I got into an argument with someone about this before I'd seen the movie, where they were basically like, and this is me talking about an online argument I got into, but basically it's
Which platform are you able to get into arguments like that?
this was Reddit.
You
This
read
was
it?
Reddit.
Okay. Right.
Basically, the person was like being like, what a bold move by Garland. It was like a bait and switch where everyone thought it was going to be about politics because they're projecting themselves onto it, and then they got something
Right.
completely different. And I'm like, well, this movie was just sold on the imagery of January 6th. Like, I'm not like saying that it's a good or bad thing, but I'm saying like it was marketed as if it were a pertinent 2024 election America divided story, and it's like that's not
Right.
necessarily anyone's fault. That's the smart way to sell this movie, you know.
Of course.
But
I mean,
like
the footage from January 6th appears in the first couple minutes of the
exactly,
film.
and it's like the trailer is clearly evoking that. So I'm like, this wasn't. I'm like, if people thought this movie was gonna be that, I don't think that's like they were like sheep that projected something onto this movie. I think they were sold that movie, and then the movie's like, if this movie was called like Frontline Photojournalism, I wouldn't even necessarily
Right.
care about like fronting all
right.
this ideological stuff, but it's called Civil War. It's like a Civil War is inherently about an ideological split somewhere because it's a nation fighting itself, you know.
Right.
And
I
there
was going
is.
to ask if
Oh, continue.
I was going to ask or bring up at some point. I feel like the title for this movie is so brute and awkward. Like
It should
I
not be
almost
called
wonder.
this.
I almost want. Yeah, exactly. I almost wonder if it was intended to be called something else at some point.
It's not about
then
the war.
It's not about it. Yeah.
It's about the front
Yeah.
line. It's about. I mean, again, I think the stuff that works with this movie. I kind of liked the movie. I kind of liked
It's kind
certain
of
aspects
good.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like a silly, like it's like if it's like if the right wing '80s exploitation movies were like centrist '80s exploitation movies. I do think this movie
Right.
is unavoidably centrist. I don't think that like disqualifies it from anything necessarily, but it is
Right.
kind of like a movie that's like, no matter what the cause of this is, it shouldn't be happening, you know. And it's like,
Right.
well,
Right.
that is a very broad thing to paint, you know, because
Yeah.
we don't know at all what you know, at least textually. I mean, we can infer, but it's like, you know, the reason why you make this movie now is to be like, it seems like there's more people than ever that think the idea of an American Civil War would be a good thing, and Alex Garland is trying to be like, it would not, you know,
Yeah.
viscerally. But it's like, I don't know if that's even as important, if it wasn't positioned in the way it is at the time it was. I do think it's like, you can't really be like, oh, what like, you can't really say that you're completely wrong to want to view it through that lens, because it's being positioned to be viewed through that lens, even though ostensibly
Right.
the movie itself kind of is actively about disengaging that, you know. And I wonder if it wasn't like, let's rile people up, get them to the theaters, and then show them like, you know, your next door neighbor being set on fire, you know, and be like,
Right.
isn't
Right.
this horrible? And like, I get that, but I do think like, that's what I'm saying, where like it both hurts and helps the movie, right? Like, I do think that's like an important element of it, is to be like, yeah, this is, we're just gonna show it as like on the ground level frontline brutality, and like the journalists supposedly be like, you can interpret this however you want. Obviously this is like a very anti-violent, anti-war movie, so it's like, there is just an element of like, you know, do you care about why this war happened, Alex Garland? Because if it's like true like crazy fascism, you know, it's like, well, then it's like, because it's just like, there is a context to it, right?
Well, I wonder if because Nick Offerman's character, the president, appears. His character, the president, appears often
His
throughout
character,
the film.
the
via-
president.
You know, the president appears often throughout the film and does radio voiceovers, and he's always talking about uniting the country as one under God. Like he's always
Like doing like
stressing
a Trump
that.
bit and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I sort of can't help but wonder if the intention was to read that as like, all right, Christian ethno-nationalist, Christian ethno-state, like something or other,
Yeah, it's
right?
it's interesting because it's like, again, I think it's almost going out of its way to obfuscate like, what's the end confrontation? It's a black woman soldier arguing with the black woman press
Black-
secretary.
yeah,
Like, it's like,
yeah.
it's going out of its way
I thought
to
that
be
was
like,
funny too.
there is not like a real world alignment that you can copy paste onto this, you know. It's like,
Right,
it's like
right.
obfuscating purposefully, which I
They
think
sort of
is
do this-
interesting to an extent, but then it's like,
Yeah.
why was the movie, it's like almost like, again, you like shot yourself in the foot by then being like, but the movie's Civil War, and the last image is like the president being killed, you know. It's like, well, okay,
Right,
this
right,
is clearly
right.
loaded with something. But I almost like, to some extent, that it's almost playing so fast and loose with this shit, where it's like, again,
Right.
I think he's trying to disarm you in a way, or maybe not. But I think the end result of the movie is like, by dropping all these silly buzzwords and stuff, you're like, okay, this movie doesn't actually care about any of this. This movie's like,
Right.
and like, I do agree that it's like nice that there is like an adult movie about these things. I think all four of the main performances are really good. I think all
Yeah.
four of them
Oh,
are
yeah.
actually quite good. I do think
Yeah.
the what's his name character is silly. I think there's like,
Stephen
again,
McKinley
I think it
Henderson
has
or
the
Wagner
no, the Wagner Moore. I mean, Stephen McKinley Henderson's incredible in this.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
true
he's great.
It's funny because they textually say what makes him a great actor. Where Kaylee Spain's like, yeah, I didn't know him that long, but I felt like I knew him forever. And it's like, yeah, that's Stephen McKinley Henderson. That's, you know, he's just
Right,
one of
right,
those
right.
shorthand actors where it's like, I know exactly who this guy is. I feel like I've known him my whole life. Like, he has such a unteachable warmth as a performer.
Right.
Even in a film like this. But I do think the Joel character is stupid, where like there's points where he's literally driving away from getting shot at and being like, that was awesome, where it's like, okay,
yeah.
this is a little on the nose, and I also think it does have the problem of like, like we complain about with a lot of movies where it's like everything it actually has to say about photojournalism is said in the first 15 to 20 minutes, and then you're right in that the episodic nature is just kind of like, here's another way to say it. Here's another way to say it. I will say this movie flew by for me. Like, I was amazed at how quick it went by. And so, like, that was like, and it wasn't even like, oh, I'm having so much fun, but I'm like, it is just kind of moving to the next thing. Like, I don't think the structure bugged me in that way that it bugged you. I'm curious for you to elaborate on what exactly bugged you about the structure. But I was like, I think it did to some extent. I'm like, oh, there's the next thing. Oh, there's the next thing. And like, especially like being inundated with the marketing for this, I'm like, I know there's going to be a Clemens scene. I know there's going to be a scene where this happens. I know there's going to be a scene. And I was kind of shocked. I'm like, oh, wait, we're already at the Clemens bit? I'm like, this must be earlier. There must be a lot we haven't seen. And then I'm like, be like, no, we're like an hour in, and there's like only 40 minutes left. And so I do think, like, talk about the pacing, and then I want to talk about the look.
Yeah. I thought it was paced really well. I just, like, when I think about the structure, yeah. When I think about similar screenplays of a comparable ilk that I really like, which are just like, let's get a bunch of crazy scenes back to back to back. I feel like I keep going back to this, but like the first thing that comes to mind is probably Escape from New York, but then you also get to some extent, I think.
Well,
the
one
too.
that comes to mind to me is 28 Days Later, also an Alex Garland script.
Right,
a movie I recently
which
watched and just fell in love with, and was kind of constantly comparing the two.
Really?
Yeah.
Worth a rewatch? Because I was going to say, because that's not a movie I've ever been crazy about. Also, I haven't seen
movie
it since
is
I was in high school.
Stunningly beautiful, but I mean, it's like an art project. It's shot. I mean, like there's whole
Danny Boyle. Is that a Dodd
It's a
Mantle?
Dodd Mantle, yeah. I mean, but it's like an art project. I mean, the just like the stuff is so, and also just like crazy how wholesale, like Walking Dead just ripped entirely wholesale. The only like agreed upon good part of the show, the first season, is literally just like half of it just ripped wholesale from 28 Days Later in like an absurd way.
Right. No, I think my issue with the structure just lies in the road trip nature of it in general, which isn't something that I would necessarily have a problem with if I feel like I got to know, and this isn't criticism. I feel like I can levy in an intelligent way, but like again, the Wagner Moura character. The only thing you ever really know about that guy is that he's like, Kaylee Spinney, she's cool. She's 23, but like she's actually really cool. And then it is like the woohoo, I'm a cowboy photojournalist. Like it is just sort of it feels more like a light rails thing than a way to actually get to know anybody beyond Kaylee Spinney, which I think you could say is the point.
It's funny because it feels like they're using, you're like, oh, you kind of connect the dots, and you're like, oh, this was kind of weird that he invited her along, like in like a he's like hitting on her way. But and you're like, it almost feels like they're planting the seeds for his character to become more interesting later. But all it's really planting for the seeds for is for Stephen McKinley Henderson to later be like, you were hitting on her, and you're like, oh, okay. They just wanted to make that textual later, like it's like it takes away any nuance.
There's this really interesting thing about it too, like going back to the thing that you said about how, the black press secretary asked permission to be shot by the black woman soldier. Where again, that almost seems like something that they're setting up, right? Especially the scene where him and Kaylee Spinney are in the back of the car about to go to bed, and he's like, I can offer you an Ativan if you like. That always helped me sleep. And she goes, no, I'm good. He's like, okay, well, you know what? I can stay up with you. Sometimes have another person with you throughout the night and the way that he's framed, right? It's like really up close. He's in silhouette. In the background are rockets flying, and you sort of intuit for a second, like, oh, are they setting this guy up to be a creep like or a predator? But then there's a funny little thing where when they're at the town where everybody's pretending like nothing's happening, in the background you just see him flirting with the shopkeeper and putting on the hat and everything, and you just sort of like, Oh, he's just kind of like a horn dog.
Well, and he's
is
just
really
like
what it boils down
like
to.
he's just kind of in this mode because it's like what else is there to do socially? You know, it's not like he's like
Right.
planning on forming long-lasting relationships. You know, he's kind of
Right, and what I think is funny about that is that again that feels like because when they were first doing that bit in the trunk of the car, I was like, great, another Garland thing where like the only way he can conceptualize a woman is if she's like
being
in
harassed by
danger
men. Yeah.
of being exactly. Um, but I thought that him not doing that was again interesting in the same way the climactic scene between the press secretary and the soldier are, but also at the same time just as equal interesting for not saying anything, right? For not making any
That's
sort of
so
deeper
stupid
thematic
about
statement.
it, though. Like I don't know, it's so weird.
Like it's at the same time
like,
it's frustrating
so
but interesting.
Yeah. But that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I'm like, this is like I feel like this is gonna come across bad to the guy I'm comparing it to. But this is like a Walter Hill movie in like how much it doesn't try to
Right.
say so much stuff about what's going on. You know, like it's like The
Yeah,
Warriors. Where it's just like, this is what it's like, you know? I mean, obviously it's not
Yeah.
like fun and silly like The Warriors, but it's like, it's not like The Warriors is trying to say anything about like gang culture in New York City, you know? It's just like,
Right, yeah.
this is the end result of some crazy shit that could happen, right? You know? I feel like, so it's hard because it's like, watching this, it's hard to wash the taste of men out of my mouth.
This movie stinks.
The former Garland, and especially like Garland's had the same cinematographer do his last four movies. I was looking at this, and I feel like over the course of each one, he's gotten more and more obsessed with like these super short focal lengths, this very like sheeny look with these focal lengths that almost look like AI art. It's kind of the
So
way
can
that
you-
AI generates.
So I don't really understand too much about lenses. Obviously, this is a very digital-looking film. Garland's a very digital-looking
There's a lot of like
filmmaker. But like, what is a what is a
there's a
short
lot
focal
of
length?
like
What does that
close person close to the lens or action close to the lens. Everything in the background is blurred. They're almost like
Okay.
awkwardly close, or like it almost seems like they're protruding because of like
Right.
where they're positioned to the lens, because the lens is catching only a very specific part of the frame
Right.
is in focus, and it kind of has this like disorienting effect. It's used a lot in Men, but Men is also using literally using deepfake technology to make the guy all of the guys.
For Rory Kinnear?
Yes, and so like there's also this thing about A24 putting out these AI generated posters for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was insane.
And so there's kind of this thing floating around it for me where I'm like, this aesthetic feels AI enhanced in some way. This aesthetic feels like, and I don't think it literally is, but I feel like there is like an element of like, it is, the way he shoots is kind of designed in the same way, and AI like generates its images with its like with like a very clear subject, and then the background kind of starts getting lost because it doesn't really know how to put together things that actually look like a tangible space. You know, it's kind of just forming from other images. I don't know. This is kind of a thought I had, but I feel like he's going further and further in this direction.
It's really
and I
interesting.
oftentimes don't like the look of his. I think it's an interesting thing because it is kind of giving him a distinct look. I think especially Annihilation through this movie are visually coherent with one another. But part of that is like, I think, like the slow motion when they're going through the burning forest reminded me of the climax of Men, or the like flashback PTSD husband killing himself of Men. Which all just looks really bad. And really, like, that stuff looks like, I don't know, like the slow motion. I like the mixed media. I like when Kirsten Dunst is looking through the lens and you see kind of the more, the zoomed in focal length and you're looking through her camera. But like at the end, there's like that slow motion shot. It's in black and white, and supposedly the shot of her taking a picture of them with the dead president. Spoiler alert, which I already said that earlier in the episode, that the president gets killed at the end of the movie. And it's in slow motion. And it just looks really weird and bad, and it looks like digital in a way I won't defend, and I'm usually the one who will defend digital. You know, it looks
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Do you mean that last shot in particular, or
The last shot in particular for that, but I mean also
yeah.
just like there are stretches of this that I think have that problem, and then there are stretches that I think it kind of like aspects of it work. You know, where it's like
Yeah.
it at least has its own look. You know.
Right. I was curious. There was like this sort of visual motif throughout the film where whenever Kirsten Dunst was seeing something traumatizing, like it was almost as if the lens became polarized. Do you know what I
Like, it'd
mean?
be
Like
like,
there's so like there, yeah, it's
I
almost
don't know what this
anamorphic.
like. Yeah, I think
Almost
it's
anamorphic, but all these colors coming off of it. But
yeah,
like, is that just a
It's
digital
got
effect or
no. I think that's a lens effect. I think I would guess it's a lens effect just because I think he likes playing with these lenses just based on the other looks.
right?
I wouldn't be able to tell you completely. It kind of reminds me of like the effect in Oppenheimer, right? When he's in the bleacher room and it's like
Yeah.
blurry and the background's going, and that's
Yeah.
like an in-camera effect. That's not like a
Yeah.
post effect. So I think that's in camera. I don't know how effective some of that stuff is, especially for a movie that's kind of selling point is presenting the blunt nature of violence in a setting that is more familiar to us, kind of doing some crazy things with the lens and stuff. I don't necessarily think it always adds, you know, because you can kind of get that from the action. But I don't think, again, it's kind of like a lot of this movie. It's kind of hit or miss. It's funny that this movie is kind of a movie that I'm like, well, I didn't love it, but I'm glad it got made. You know, like it's probably like a 3 out of 5 if I'm rating it off the top of my head on a number. Mostly just because I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, they got Stephen McKinley Henderson and Kirsten Dunst is really good, and Plemons is actually pretty
Yeah.
good, and you know,
Yeah.
like there's scenes and where it's like I think there are some scenes with images that are very effective. I just don't know if the larger tapestry really works. You know.
Yeah. Why aren't you normally into Plemons? I would have presumed you'd be at least
This is kind
I
of
got
an
a performance here
ongoing
and there.
joke between Jack and I that we hate Plemons. There's like a unforgivable run of Plemons movies where part of it is the movie. Let me see what the Plemons run is that like where he's like in everything. That made me turn on him. Kind of the run where he's in.
Is he bad in it, or do you just not like it?
Well, so like he's in a run of like Vice. I'm thinking of ending things. Jungle Cruise,
Right.
Power of the Dog, Antlers. And that kind of is probably where I start turning on him, where he's popping up in a million things, and I think he's bad in all of those movies. I think he's fine in Power of the Dog, but I think he's like the least. I mean, part of it is he's playing the least interesting character, right? Like,
Right.
that's kind of, and he kind of gets asked that. I don't think he's like particularly good in Killers of the Flower Moon. And I mean, I think he's fine in it, but it's
Yeah,
like again,
he's
that's a
in it
movie
for-
where I love everybody, you know, except for like him and
Right.
Brendan Fraser.
Oh, you're not a fan of the
Yeah,
Frasier?
no, I wish I was, but no, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just, think it's just. I mean, again, part of it is. I think I said this maybe on an episode. I might have said this in one we did with Jack. Like, unconditioned, he comes into the movie, he stands up, he starts yelling. I immediately laugh, and I'm like, this isn't like an intellectual thing. This is like a visceral thing where I'm like, what is
Yeah.
going on? What is this? Like, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I'm like. And then people are like, "That's the type of guy you'd have." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's still silly." I'm like, the
Right.
camera pans to Brendan Fraser. He looks like he's about to cry, and then he stands up and starts screaming, and it's like, "What? This energy
Yeah.
is so off." And I don't think the scene. I don't think the section of the movie is like a section that should have a weird curveball performance that sticks out like a sore thumb. You know, like I don't. I think
Right,
some
right.
people think that adds to it. I don't think it adds to it. I think it. I don't necessarily think it detracts to. Like I think it's basically a perfect movie still, but it's not like I'm like. Acknowledging that I love the movie, I'm like, yeah, and then Brendan Fraser comes in and he's pretty bad for a second,
Yeah.
but he's not really in it that much, so it's fine. And it's like Plemons is like fine, you know, Plemons isn't really bad in it, but it's like part of it is, I think I did experience like a because like I'm thinking of ending things as like an Alex Garland movie. It's like Men.
Right. I will say I rewatched it a year and a half ago, and I hated I'm Thinking of Ending Things when it first came out, and I did rewatch it a year and a half ago. And I thought it was okay.
Yeah, there's no way I'll like it. I mean, I think I just was like, this is just
Right,
so.
right.
Part of it is it's like Kaufman, man, just fucking kill yourself. Like I don't know, man. Are you this miserable about who you are? Like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, don't make me sit through this. This sucks. This isn't even interesting.
Synecdoche, New York together, right?
Yeah, well, it's like the thing about I'm Thinking of Anything is like it's not interesting on the basis of the interactions they're having, and then you get to the bigger picture stuff, and you're like, oh, this also is not interesting. Like, it doesn't work on any level. Like,
That's
it's
interesting.
fucking. Also, that review's not in that Pauline Kael book.
Oh, is it not?
I have that Pauline Kael book. That
Oh,
review's not in
shit.
there. Not that matters, but.
I'm
You know.
gonna have to bump that down from a 2.5 from a 3.
Yeah.
Because,
A
because of
3.
that alone.
That movie looks bad. That movie, everyone's bad in it. Bad.
Damn.
I just like,
Hey! I also hate it too.
yeah, no, it's fine. Look, hey, this is the energy I mean Jack. This is the energy Jack probably wanted me to come at with Civil War, but Civil War is almost going out of its way to be like, this is stupid, man. Don't fucking
Yeah.
care. It's like I'm Thinking of Anything. It's like this is the most important thing ever, and it's like a ballet about how a guy is sad that I don't know he had to invent a girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, they it's something about a trivia night.
It's about trivia night.
Yeah, it's about a trivia night. They met at a trivia night. Yeah, I'm over Charlie Kaufman too. I never was really in on him.
It's just stupid, man. It's
I'm
just like,
sick
I
of the
don't know.
Synecdoche, New York. I'm sick of how people talk about Synecdoche.
No one
New
even
York.
really talks about it anymore. At least that I see.
Whenever people do talk about it, it isn't the most. It's almost as if it's like it's religious for them.
Part of
That
it
is
is
the
the
deepest
ending of
thing,
that
it's the
movie
most
is so
profound thing.
corny and so like the ending of that movie
Right.
so like dumps any goodwill it might have had by it being like here's 11 exclamation points at the end of the final sentence of the movie, and I'm just like
Right,
stop
right.
screaming, Charlie. Just like let Philip cook, you know.
That's funny. Just kill yourself. No, I
No, I know I shouldn't have said that, but no one's gonna like, watch this. But he clearly
It's
wants
funny.
to so bad.
I know. It just talks about it all the time, and then does interviews. It talks about how much of a failure he is. And,
Yeah, I don't know. I know there are people who have like an interesting like trans reading on that movie. I'm happy
Right.
for those people if they get that out of it, but I do not care to revisit that to
Right.
re-examine that. Also, I'm like,
And
dude,
Anomalisa also
Robert
sucks.
Zemeckis is such a better filmmaker than you.
Right.
Like, I know that's a silly thing to get hung up on, and I'm not even like a Zemeckis fanboy, but I'm like, in the middle of this awful piece of shit, you're like taking a random shot, even if it's like
Taking
a
a shot at
tongue-in-cheek
Zemeckis.
shot. Like, you're taking
Yeah.
a shot at Zemeckis. Like, first of all, Zemeckis doesn't even make movies like this, like the movie that you're purporting he made. And like, second of all,
right.
it's like, you know, the dude made Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So it's like, you can't really sling shit, my brother.
Yeah.
He didn't make Anomalisa.
Anomalisa stinks. Anomalisa is the worst of those three.
I haven't seen it. I
It's
just don't
dreadful.
want to watch it, but
It sucks. It's horrible.
yeah.
Do we have anything else to say about Civil War?
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, again, it's almost like the movie. It's funny that this movie has so much discourse because it's almost going out of its way to make it stupid to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I also like I don't. It like again, Garland's just kind of like very ambivalent to a lot of readings of it in a way that I find fascinating. Why you would be like, yeah, my work's not that interesting.
Yeah.
Or like, it's funny because I feel like he's being coy about like what's my intention? I'm trying to, but then it's like when people start reading into it, he's like, oh, I didn't think it was about that. Like it's like, what do you, I don't know.
Yeah, I almost wonder if the original script when he submitted it was called like Camera Obscura or something like that.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah, exactly. That's-
and like the planned poster was Christian Dunst like
Yeah,
behind a
I
camera.
think
or something
Dunst
or
is
other.
very good in this.
Yeah, she's great. I
I love
love her. I
seeing
wish
her.
was. I
No,
wish
I
she
know.
did more.
I want to
Yeah.
like I think she's kind of happy with where she's at, but um,
I'm
like
kind of. I don't really know, or I'm kind of surprised that this, like 2021, and well, I guess they probably shot this in 2021, right? Um. Yeah, I have no clue. I have no clue where she's been.
yeah, she's. Let me pull up her filmography real quick, just so we don't leave this stone unturned, and then I'm like, oh, I wish we did more dunce talk, because it is
Right.
kind of. She was in The Beguiled, but it's like, of course, she'll pop up for Sophia, but what is
Right.
like
I never
her?
saw. I never
Yeah,
saw
I mean, it's
Beguiled.
basically Beguiled, and then she's in this
Power of the
movie,
Dog.
Woodshock. I've seen this poster before.
Woodshock. Oh. I've never heard of this.
And then Power of the Dog, and then this. I mean, she like her last. So like her last real movies is like Bling Ring, a couple small movies,
Jesus,
Anchorman
yeah,
2,
you're right.
Two Faces of January, Midnight Special, Hidden Figures, Beguiled,
Midnight
Boom Boom Boom. I
Special.
mean, she just doesn't work that much, which is fine. It seems like she's happy doing director-based stuff. She's been on the record as saying that, but it's like funny that one of her directors, she says she's
Is
got
Lars von Trier?
well, one of her directors are like Lars von Trier and Alex Garland.
Right,
Where it's like
right.
those aren't really like the people you like glue yourselves to.
Yeah.
Like like I was thinking, it's kind of funny that like
Well,
and I
Jane
guess
Campion,
it makes
too.
sense with the family stuff, but it's like it's funny that Bill Murray is like, all right, I'm just gonna like glue myself to like Jim Jarmusch, Wes Anderson, and Sofia Coppola, and like
Yeah.
I'll do some paycheck movies, but like my whole late career thing is like I just do all the movies. So if they want me, they got me, and it's like.
Right.
It's like that is kind of like a fascinating thing that he did, and it's just funny that's like Dunst keeps picking. I mean, she's got Coppola, Sofia Coppola, obviously, but then it's like her version of doing director-driven stuff is just like a very mixed bag, seemingly.
Right. It's like Ryan Reynolds, right? Doing all this work with John Krasinski.
Yeah.
Like a
Well,
titan
that's a
of the
pairing.
industry
That's
working
like
with another-
Titan. That's like huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a game changer. I feel like.
I mean, that's Coppola. That's Coppola and Hackman right there.
Yeah. Except that neither of those guys are a hack, man.
Whoa.
Reynolds and Krasinski. Man,
Whoa.
I swear seeing Emily Blunt at the Oscars unlocked something in me. I'm like, wow, she's beautiful.
Yeah, you're in love with her now.
I'm in love with her now. I think it was her making fun of Ryan Gosling on stage.
Interesting.
I'm like, this is a little spicy energy that I feel like we don't
I
normally
was
get.
I was looking at her filmography the other day and was struck at how few good movies that she's in, and how
Yeah, I
fun
mean,
she
what
is.
her iconic performances are like Quiet
Devil Wears
Place,
Prada.
Devil Wears Prada, Edge of Tomorrow.
Jungle Book. I don't know.
Jungle-
Probably, yeah. Those are
Jungle
probably
Cruise.
the big three. Jungle Cruise, yeah.
Well, it's like I mean, yeah, I feel like the biggest knock on Emily Blunt is like she played Mary Poppins and everyone forgot. Like it's not even like a
Right.
thing that stuck to her.
Yeah.
I guess she's in Sicario. I feel like Sicario's kind of
Oh yeah. People
Sicario.
really like
Sicario's maybe the biggest knock on her.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
That's fair
Sicario's a better movie if she's more interesting in it.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong. I kind of like. I mean, Sicario is an evil movie. Sicario is like an evil movie.
Yeah.
What Sicario is like saying is like worse than anything Civil War is saying. It's
Right.
like the point of
Right.
Sicario is like sometimes you gotta do bad things. And I
Right,
don't think
right.
the movie's being very critical of it. Like I know people I like the Hurt Locker full through, and I think the Hurt Locker is being very critical of like the U.S.'s intervention in the Middle East in that time.
Yeah.
I think Sicario is like, man, you gotta play on these guys' level, man. These dudes, they're bad dudes. And it's just saying that, and it's just like floating that, and then you watch the movie, and it's like, oh, people are like misinterpreting this movie as being like pro this. I'm like, I don't think they're misinterpreting. I think they're interpreting the movie.
No, yeah. I mean, what's so funny about Sicario is that it doesn't even give you the room to argue for the people are misinterpreting it thing, because whenever it like frames Mexico, it like plays the scariest
Yeah, I
you've
know.
ever heard in your entire life.
But also, like, maybe Deacon's best looking movie from 2010 on.
Deacon's best looking movie from 2010 on.
I'm gonna pull that up. I think that movie, some of the shit in that movie looks incredible.
Yeah, but
the like military photography is like. So let's see what's from 2010 on was my thing, because I know I'm cutting out Assassin's Creed Jesse James.
Is it ridiculous if I posited Hail Caesar? Am I being a little bit too?
It's not ridiculous.
Am I being a little bit
I
too
would
crazy?
Disagree.
I would also say I haven't seen Sicario in about 6 years. So I don't know if I'd be able to.
True Grit's 2010. I don't know about the look of that movie. And he did Skyfall, which people like. But yeah, no, I could comfortably say of the ones I've seen, which is more than I would like to admit, considering I've seen Empire of Light and about half of the Goldfinch.
You've seen The Empire of Light?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus, man. I heard it stunk.
It's funny. I knew a lot of people in real life who had like a wonderful experience watching that movie, and I'm like, this movie's bad. But I didn't want to. It's like one of those like people who come to the bar thing where I'm like, I have to kind of talk around not liking the movie by like complimenting the things I do like about it, and that was a tough one. Part of it is, do you care about spoilers for Empire of Light?
I gotta say, I do not care about spoilers.
Okay, so halfway through, it's revealed that Olivia Colman is schizophrenic. Like, she's the main character the whole time, but you don't find out that that's true about her character until the reveal. And then after the reveal, she starts playing it differently. And I'm like, this ruins the entire point of what would be interesting about this, which is like, oh, this person's schizophrenic and has been the whole time, and like they're a little odd, but like, you know, isn't that interesting that like, you know, it's like just like if you met this person and they didn't tell you right away, you'd be like, oh, something's weird going on there, but I don't know what it is. Then it's like she becomes like unhinged as soon as like, you know, and like deserve it. Like people are like pushing her buttons, but it's just like I was just like, this is like how you ruin something that could have been interesting to me. Like it seems
that's
like
so
you're
funny too,
actively
because
making a bad decision now.
like schizophrenia in particular is like the mental illness where that just completely formally alters a film, right? Where it's like you find out somebody's schizophrenic in a movie, and then it's like, okay, well, that means they're also an unreliable narrator, because they hear voices and you know see things that aren't actually there. Yeah, that seems like a really bad. That seems like a really weird decision to do.
It was interesting because Father Alex, who's our local woke priest, really enjoyed it, and he was like, it just reminds me of.
Hold up! You got woke priest?
Yeah, we have a local woke priest. We have a cavalcade of woke priests, honestly, that come into our bar. That are awesome. Wait, who's always like,
look who's in.
One who's literally
the general right now.
Oh, who I can't. I'm screen recording our. Is it Jack? Oh, that's
Jack's
funny.
the general.
We'll pop over in just 1 sec when we wrap up. One of our local woke priests literally is like, "Hey, Hyatt, did you listen to the new Chapo?" Like, it's like awesome, you know.
Nice.
But he was just like, it reminds me a lot of like this place that attracts people that kind of linger and stay in the community, you know, and they need like a. But I'm like, I think there are better movies that do that, you know. But I was like, it's hard to say that to someone who's like not seen as many movies, you know, not just in like a blunt way where I'm like, you know.
Right. You ever seen Matinee? You ever seen Joe Dante's Matinee?
Guy? So my joke about Empire of the Sun, and I don't think you've seen Goodbye Dragon Inn. I'm like, it's like Goodbye Dragon Inn, except you're rooting for the movie theater to close.
Right.
It's just like an evil thought, you know. But it's like, you're like, man, I hope they shut this place down, you know. It's like when they. I'm just saying a bunch of awful shit now about like how. I said something horrible. I literally like. So you know how Marty, they announced that he might be doing this Frank Sinatra biopic with Leo and Jennifer Lawrence. And I literally Nick brought that up to me, my roommate, and he was like, oh, and I was like, I was gonna say something, but it's horrible. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna say it. And then I also was like, Jack, do you want to hear the horrible thing I said about this new Marty? And he's like, I already know what it is and it's going to be bad. And then I said it and he's like, it's worse than what I thought it was going to be.
Oh,
and,
what is it?
And it's probably, I think your brain, the way your brain works, it's exactly what you think it is. But I'm like, man, this is the one where we're just hoping he dies before he finishes this one, right? You know, like, Killers of the Last Moon is an awesome last movie, and if this fucking Frank Sinatra biopic starring Leo as Frank Sinatra, it's like, oh yeah, then he made that, and then he died, and he never got to make a good movie again, you know? And it's like, no, man, just, you know, take your time is all I'm saying. Maybe take a while to develop the script.
I hope Charlie Kaufman kills himself. I hope Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese dies.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm on a roll. You know, I hope the Empire of Light. I hope the movie theater closes and they all become unhoused. You know.
Right. Right.
No, fuck. I had one more fucking thing to say. Did you see Tarantino canceled?
I saw Tarantino cancel the movie critic.
Yeah.
You're-
Did you ever?
you're happy.
Did you ever hear that rumor that he was going to cast Shane Gillis as the main
I
character?
100% heard that rumor.
That would have been so dope. Honestly, that would have
awesome.
been sick as hell. I'm like someone who's like a Shane Gillis skeptic. I'm not like a fan, but if
Right,
Tarantino
right.
was just like, because it was rumored to be Paul Walter Hauser, and then it wasn't going to be Paul Walter Hauser, and then there was like a blind item that was like recent controversial SNL host, and it was like, bro, if Tarantino is like my last movie is, and this was the point in time where it looked like, based on the rumors, it was gonna be Shane Gillis, Brad Pitt, and Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then did you see the rumor was like people thought Cruise was gonna work with Tarantino, and then it came out that the Cruise rumor was him working with Inarritu.
I didn't hear that at all.
That's apparently the new rumor, is he's gonna be the star of the next Alejandro Inarritu movie.
And he's not working with Tarantino?
And he's not. I mean, now, maybe if Tarantino's. I mean, now it seems like Tarantino's like back to square one. You know, like I don't think he has any. I don't think he has anyone in mind anymore. Maybe what if Tarantino's like? What if Tarantino's like? I scrapped the movie critic because I needed to write a character that truly encompassed everything Shane Gillis brought to the table. Like I needed a wholly original.
I saw a fun theory that said, or that postured, what if he was rewriting a movie to do that, but for Tom Cruise, because now he has Tom Cruise all on board wanting
If Tom
to do
Cruise is
something.
all on board, yeah. Because
Yeah,
there
and
was a
it's
bunch
like,
of
okay,
corny shit, like Brad Pitt was gonna play Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth, yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
what?
that's the exact same fucking Vince Vega, Vic Vega bullshit that just like sustained Tarantino for the first decade of his career.
Yeah,
Right? Where it's like one day they'll be in a movie together.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to see fucking Michael Madsen and John Travolta,
Yeah.
listen to the Allman Brothers band for an hour and a half, for 2.5 hours.
Maybe you ate up them listening to the fucking Mamas and the Papas for 3 hours.
Hey, that's true, man. That's true.
Oh, and then they beat the Manson family, and everything ends happy.
And you know who's part of that Manson family too? That's Austin Butler.
Yeah, and Sydney Sweeney. They're totally
And
in the
Sydney
movie.
Sweeney.
They're totally in the
Yeah.
movie, guys. Look. I know. Honestly, I'm worried if I rewatch that movie, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars for Margaret Qualley alone.
Yeah, you're all in on Margaret Qualley these days.
I'm spending some quality time, man. That's my boo.
Whoa!
That's my boo.
Yo, when we do Cohen's Jury,
Oh,
I
you're
forgot.
gonna be hearing it.
are we doing?
No, the solo works
Driveway
are in.
Dolls?
Yeah, the Hamlet
Solo
and
works are in?
or Macbeth and Driveway Dolls are in. They have to be. That's what's
Okay,
gonna
I'm
make it
excited.
crazy. That's what's gonna make it crazy. Because that adds
Yeah.
so much weird shit that I'm gonna care about. You know.
I'm doing scripts Suburbicon. Sorry.
No,
Sorry, I gotta-
You didn't watch it, Cope. You didn't watch it.
Sorry,
did you? You
I
didn't
gotta
watch
give
it. Did you?
Suburbicon enough. No.
Man,
No,
if
but
you
it's-
watch it, you would realize
like-
how stupid you sound.
I like the idea of being like, I bet Suburbicon's not terrible.
My mic could die at any point, but I'm kind of just riding it out for that being like the ending of the episode.
Right.
But we can shut down if we run out of steam. But Suburbicon's terrible. And Jack was talking about including Bridge of Spies, but the thing about Bridge of Spies is like we know the sections that they worked on and wrote, and it's like a third of the movie. So I feel like it's weird to be like, are we going to give them script for a movie we know they like did work on a part of, you know?
Also, it's also one of those things where it's like, even if we did decide to include Bridge of Spies, I really feel like I feel confident I could probably name 15 scripts of theirs that I'd be like, you know,
Yeah, well,
I probably like this more than
you're,
Bridge of Spies. As much
you're
as I like
stepping
Bridge
into
of
the
Spies
fortress of the Bridge of Spies heads, but you
Right,
are right.
Are you guys a Bridge of
if we
Spies
do
heads?
the 2010s acting draft, I'm like maybe I'll just take Hanks and Bridge of Spies with my first pick just to fuck over
Ooh,
everyone
that would
else
be
who wants
fun.
Hanks for something else.
Yeah,
No, I think
yeah.
I know who my first pick is, but I'm worried because I think it's part of it is I'm like, do I pick just what I think the best performance of the decade is first, or do I like be like I have to start snagging these ones that are going to be?
Part of me thinks that when we do this is awesome. Just planning future episodes. It's all gonna be a surprise to Jack. We should drop the final draft order into the Discord and have people vote
Have
on
people
it.
vote? Yeah, no, definitely.
yeah.
We should just send it to people. We'll make a Google Doc and send it to people who might,
Right.
and we'll
Yeah.
keep them anonymous.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good call. Because at that point too it becomes
But part of it is I'm like
Becomes a fun game.
in that regard. Like this is what annoys me with the big picture drafts, where I'm like, I'm not gonna like play to the crowd though. I'm not playing to win. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm gonna pick who I want. So it's like part of the reason it's like, man, this 1999 draft that they just did, they didn't pick like 3 of my 5 favorite movies from that year. I'm like, what are you guys doing? No
ones?
Beau Travail, no Julian Donkey Boy. Like I know these aren't like. But I'm like 7 people are picking. But I'm like, oh, you have to pick movies people like because then they vote and see who wins. But I'm like, someone picked like 8mm, you know? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I just looked at the list because I'm like, am I gonna get mad if I listen to this and they don't pick movies I like?
Right.
And not that would, but like part of it is those episodes are just them being like, I think I said this in the text, but it's so often them being like, I'm picking Sorcerer. For those of you who don't know, a Sorcerer is a movie where they have to move.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's enough time. Anyways, what's your next pick? And like, it's not like you get to talk about Sorcerer, you know. You kind of just give like the cliff notes on like, open the same week as Star Wars, it bombed, but it's actually maybe his best movie.
Right. And if I remember, I think CR said halfway through, like the sorcerer thing, he's like, and there's a scene halfway through this movie where like, you will not believe that they were able to film it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like just we know what the scene is. It's the poster of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's like, I don't know. It's just funny. Like, I'm like, this doesn't really lead to. Whereas, like, I feel like the jury's at least, and I feel like this 2010s one will at least lead to discussion, especially for like
Right.
the best act, especially if it's like 1 per movie, 1 per actor, because then there's like a debate, you know, because like if you take someone,
Right.
someone else can't take them, and they might be like, and you took them for some fuck shit, you know,
Yeah.
and that
Your
pisses
Tom
me
Hanks
off.
The Bridge of Spies thing is really fun.
Um,
Whoa! Don't do it.
Well, like, so here's one that I've been thinking about putting really high, and I'll spoil this because I'm sure they're going to come up with more ideas. But I'm like,
Right.
I feel like it's a power move to be like early on being like, I'm taking Vicky Creeps for Phantom Thread. You can't take Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread now. So now you either have to take Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln, or we're leaving him off, you know, like, because it's like,
Well, that fucks me because I can't take Vicky Creeps for Old.
that's true, but I think we're doing 2010s.
Good movie that she's good in. Oh yeah, duh.
Or else that would also be up for me.
Right. Yeah. I gotta
Alright.
say, I'm so excited for this new Shyamalan. All right, yeah, we should.
Do you want to stop the record real quick just so we can?
Yes, I gotta pee.
Yeah, I do too. And then we'll
All
just
right,
reconvene.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.